Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of the 23rd of April 2026. Before we get underway, I'll read the live streaming declaration. The Shire of Murray Ordinary Council meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the Shire's website in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995. Members of the public attending this meeting consent to the possibility that their image and voice may be captured on the recording and live streaming. Statements or decisions made at this meeting should not be relied or acted on by an applicant or any other person until they have received written notification from the Shire of Murray. Welcome to our guests in the public gallery. We have one councillor away on leave, being Councillor Cashman, and we have one councillor who was going to be away on leave who is with us tonight, Councillor Carter. So thank you for joining us tonight. As far as the staff, we have the CEO, Dean Unsworth, is an apology, and standing in for him is Crystal Dorr, and Tracy Unsworth is also on leave, and we have Louise Pleasant sitting in for her. As stated, Councillor Rob Cashman is on approved leave for tonight's meeting. Moves us on to item 3, response to previous public questions taken on notice is nil. And we move on to public question time. And I have one in writing here from Mr. Beecham. Would you like to read your question, or would you rather I did it?
That one. Thanks. I'm Mervyn Beecham, 10 Carey Street, Penjarra. Where do we as residents stand with regards to 48 James Street? This house is being trashed by school-aged juveniles, and nearly every piece of glass is broken, and the obscenity sprayed on the walls. And I haven't had a chance to take photos of the ones that are leaning against our brethren, the First Nation people, and also the police get us a mention as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beecham. On this occasion where the director, Mr. Peake, is going to take that question on notice and go and have a look for himself, and you'll be responded to in writing within 14 days. But we haven't got a succinct answer for you at this stage.
You'll be impressed by their lack of legibility with some of their critique.
I'm sure. But thank you for your question, and we will tend to a response. That brings us on to, just checking, no other further questions from anybody in the gallery? No. Brings us on to item 5, petitions and approved deputations. I've not received any, so we'll record that as nil. Item 6, confirmation of the minutes. 6.1, Ordinary Council meeting 26th of March 2026. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Carter and Councillor Rogers. Is there anybody that has noticed anything that's incorrect in those minutes? Being the case, we'll put the item to the vote then. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Item 6.2, Audit and Risk Committee meeting 26th of March 2026. Likewise, I need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Kirkham to move and Councillor Willis to second. Any comments in regard to those minutes? I'll put that item to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Item 7, announcements by the presiding member will be attached to the minutes. And item 8, announcements by elected members will be attached to the minutes. Item 9, acknowledgement of receipt of disclosure of interest. I have one. Councillor Stuart Carter declares a proximity interest in item 11.1. consideration of submissions amendment number 328 to local planning scheme number 4, special control area for canal frontage lots and local planning policy, in that he has a property that abuts a canal in South Yunderup. So Councillor Carter will leave the meeting for that item. Item 10, reception of minutes and recommendations of committees held since previous meeting of council. We have one. Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation, please? Councillor Rogers to move and Councillor Lee to second. Do I have any comments or questions, or is anyone likely to be opposing this item? No? If no one's opposing it, we'll put the item to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Item 10.2, Council Policy M2, Council Member Fees, Allowances, Superannuation and Reimbursement of Expense Amendment. We have the officer's recommendation there, councillors, and we also would have received a memo in relation to this yesterday, just changing one of the words in there. Everyone had a chance to read that memo? Excellent. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Carter and Councillor Lee will second. Are there any comments or questions? Is anyone likely to be opposing this item? If no one's opposing it, we'll put the item to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Reports from Chief Executive Officer and officers. 11, Planning and Sustainability. 11.1, Consideration of submissions, amendment number 328 to local planning scheme number 4, special control area for canal frontage lots and local planning policy. This is the item that Councillor Carter has a proximity interest and will leave the meeting. Thank you. Okay, councillors, you have the officer's recommendation before you. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Willis and Councillor Black to second. Do we have any comments or questions? Councillor Willis?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm in full support of the officer's recommendation. To protect the canal land owner's visual amenity, I do feel it's really important that a special control area be created, just for the purpose of sort of creating the statutory certainty. The recent decisions in the Supreme Court in relation to other WA areas illustrated that there was loopholes, and it meant that the officers could not then uphold the policy as it stood. Even though those court decisions have been overturned, I think it's, a great deal of effort that the officers and the director have gone to get the legal information to make sure that our landholders are protected. So I thank them for that, and I'm in full support of it.
Thank you, Councillor Willis. Councillor Black, have you got any further comments as a seconder? Does anyone else have any comments or questions in relation to this item? Okay, that being the case, we'll put the item to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Thank you. That item was passed unanimously. Item 11.2, proposed amendment number 337 to local planning scheme number 4 to rezone lot 2557 Woodview Way, Barragup from public recreation conservation reserve to special rural. We have the officer's recommendation. Councillor Lee is happy to move that. Councillor Rogers to second. Do we have any comments or questions? Councillor Lee, would you like to make comment?
Yeah, the only comment is that it's unused area of land, and I think it's in the Shire's best interest that we change the coding on it so that some good can come of it, and perhaps sell it and do something with the funds.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Councillor Rogers? Is anyone likely to be opposing this motion? No? That being the case, we'll put the item to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. (13.1) Draft unhosted short-term rental accommodation local planning policy. Is anyone happy to move that, please? Councillor Rogers, seconder Councillor Black. Does anyone have any comments or questions in relation to this? Councillor Rogers, you'd like to speak?
Just a comment, Mr. President. I think the decision, I believe it may have even come from Councillor Willis back in December to defer this for a couple of months to just make sure we really captured the sentiment from the Dwelling Up community was the right choice, because we've now received a lot of submissions in relation to this, whereas in the first instance we didn't. And so I think by us doing that, going now out to our consultation after hearing their voices a little more loudly, I think the outcome will be better in the long term. So I think that was a good decision.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Councillor Black? Nothing? Would anyone have any other comments or questions at all? And yes, Councillor Willis?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just further to that, I thought the survey that was put out to the public was really well created. It actually asked explicit questions, which then gave, a greater level of feedback back. So, thank you to whoever was involved in that survey.
Thank you, Councillor Willis. Is anyone likely to be opposing this item? If not, we'll put the item to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Item 11.4, local planning policy updates, domestic outbuildings and exemptions from development approval. We have a mover, please. Councillor Lee and Councillor Carter. Are there any comments or questions? Anyone likely to be opposing this? Okay. Before you make a comment, the mover, seconder would like to speak. Mover doesn't, no.
I've spoken to many residents over the years who've been exceptionally happy with the support they've received from staff within planning, and I've been told of how supportive the team is compared to the staff who do this same role within other cities and shires. And I've been told that this extends not only to the quick turnaround time for approvals, but also when residents meet with staff face-to-face for clarification. So I believe that anything we can do as a council to support our staff within planning is a good thing. For instance, I noted in the March Ordinary Council meeting minutes that in addition to the carports, water tanks and patios, 13 of the 44 application decisions relate to sheds. Removing the need for these type of planning applications to streamline our staff's time is a good thing. I do have a quick question, Mr. President, if I can just ask, if streamlining the shed planning process does become problematic after this change, would we be able to revert to the current system if that was required?
Thank you, Councillor Carter. I'll refer that one to Mr. Peake.
Yes, that would absolutely be possible, and in fact, we continue to monitor policy changes just to make sure that they are operating effectively, and so we will continue to monitor and review as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Peake. Councillor Rogers, you had a comment?
It was much in the same vein as Councillor Carter, but I think when we've got officers that are looking for ways to remove red tape in local government, that's a big thing that we get told all the time, that there's a lot of red tape, and that's unfortunately the world that we live in. But if we've got officers that can look for ways to remove that to assist our community and help our staff not to deal with things that can be dealt with in other ways, I think that's a good thing.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Is there anyone that would like to speak against this item? Excellent. We'll put that item to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Item 12, corporate governance. 12.1, payment from municipal and trust funds, March 2026. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mover being Councillor Rogers and the seconder, Councillor Lee. Are there any comments or questions in relation to this? Anyone likely to be opposing it? No? We'll put the item to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Item 12.2, monthly financial report, March 2026. Again, a mover, please. Councillor Rogers and Councillor Black will second. Is anyone likely to be opposing this? No. We'll put this item to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Item 12.3, proposed council policy G18, communications agreement. We have an officer's recommendation there. Do I have a mover? Councillor Carter and Councillor Kirkham to second. Is there likely to be anybody who will be opposing this item? Are there any comments or questions? Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Mr. President. Look, it's extremely important that we have clear guidance on how councillors should act in specific situations. I spent considerable time reviewing the proposed council policy, and I agree with all of the points it sets out. As a councillor, I often need to remind myself not to become involved in the day-to-day operations of the Shire, but instead to remain focused on the broader strategic direction. The policy provides clarity about how I should communicate with Shire staff when necessary, and it clearly outlines what is and what is not considered best practice, which is important for me. The expectations set out in the policy align directly with the information provided during the council as the governing body induction information that I received. I find it far easier to carry out my role effectively when there's no ambiguity about my responsibilities or what would be deemed appropriate and inappropriate conduct. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Councillor Kirkham, have you got anything else you'd like to add? Is there anyone likely to be opposing this? I think I asked that, but I'll ask it again. No? Any other comments or questions before we put the item? Okay, all those in favour? That's passed unanimously. (13) Recreation, Economic and Community Development. Item 13.1, event sponsorship, Plein Air Down Under, Pinjarra. Do I have someone that would like to move that? Councillor Lee and Councillor Willis will second. Do I have any comments or questions in relation to this? It's a great event when the town comes alive with artists all around. Is anyone likely to be opposing? Then we'll put the item. All those in favour? It's passed unanimously. Item 14, infrastructure services, is nil. 15, items for information. 15.1, delegated development application decisions for March 2026. These will be attached to the minutes for information. 15.2, outstanding council resolutions, April 2026, will also be attached for information. And 15.3, Council Plan 2025-26 Quarterly Progress Report will be attached. Which brings us on to item 16, business left over from a previous meeting is nil. Elected members' motions of which previous notice has been given is nil. Notice of motions for consideration at the following meeting. Does anyone have any notices of motion that they would like to put forward? No? New business of an urgent nature approved by the presiding person or by a decision of the meeting is nil. Item 20, meeting closed to the public for confidential business is nil. Which brings us to item 21, closure of the meeting, and I declare the meeting closed at 5:50 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Beecham.